Jimmy Adams, Will Smith and Adam Wheater all scored 50s as the second division leaders of the LV County Championship. Hampshire made a promising start to their latest game against Derbyshire at the Ageas Bowl. Wayne Madsen won the toss and decided to have a bowl, and Mark Foote should have been celebrating a wicket immediately, only for Adams' regulation edge to be dropped at first slip. Madsen's decision to have a go with the ball first may have been based on the green nature of this pitch, one which was hard to distinguish from the rest of the square from a distance. But almost all of the surfaces at the Ageas Bowl look a little like this one, and they've fooled a number of visiting teams as they generally play very well throughout games. There was clearly nothing wrong with this pitch as the Derbyshire attack, which was not near its best, soon began to realise as they went through the entire morning without a single success with the ball. Hampshire came into this match with a 4-point lead at the top of the second division table, and Adams and Smith were soon scoring plenty against a side which started this contest right at the bottom, still looking for their first win in what has been a disappointing season to date following their relegation last year. They now came up against two men who looked in very good touch as they opened up with a stand of more than 100. Within that, Adams made it to his fourth half-century of the summer. He'd needed 81 balls for his latest one, which was reached with a straight drive off Alex Hughes, the batsman's seventh boundary thus far. Madsen may have started to wonder about the wisdom of his decision at the toss. By the time that lunch was taken, Adams had moved on to 60, and with Smith unbeaten at the other end on 45, the home side went to eat with their side on 110 without loss. Whatever was said at lunch in the Derbyshire dressing room certainly worked. To the first ball of the afternoon session, Adams edged Tony Palladino behind in what was the start of a very impressive spell from the bowler. He struck again in his next over by also having Joe Gatting taken behind by Gareth Cross for 4. And it was 3 in 3 overs for the former Essex man when James Vince was brilliantly caught at second slip by Stephen Moore. It was Vince's first real failure of the season, and that's obviously the way to get him out. It was a quite brilliant catch that had Vince back in the pavilion with only 4 runs to his name. In 5 overs after the break, Hampshire had slipped from 110 without loss to 118 for 3, and it should have been 4 for Palladino, only for Wheater to be dropped behind by Cross. It was an expensive miss. The momentum had been with the visitors, but they had now let their hosts off the hook, and Smith looked to take advantage. He first reached his patient half-century, which was made off 123 balls, with 6 fours included. It was his second for his new county, the one he joined from Durham in the winter. The story goes that Smith, a former Durham captain, turned down the opportunity to skipper this team so he could concentrate solely on his batting. He was only at the top of the order in place of Michael Carberry, but it is a role he's well suited to, as this innings proved. He and his new partner were beginning to put their side's post-lunch troubles behind them. That had as much to do with Wheater as it did Smith. With Michael Bates keeping so well behind the stumps latterly, Wheater is playing as a batsman only, and he is clearly good enough to do that role. Whether it's T20 cricket, one-days or the 4-day stuff, Wheater likes to get on with things, and this innings was no different as he played some terrific shots. He's like a terrier at the crease, but he stays very, very still until the ball reaches him. He then gives it a fearful smack, timing his shots well too. In just 5 championship innings this season because of injury, Wheater has now struck 3 50s, the one here coming off only 48 balls. He hit 64 runs in the 4th wicket partnership with Smith, which was worth 109 in 24 overs. Smith on 82 was then plumb in front to Palladino just before tea. Palladino had had a very good session, and Hampshire were now on 230 for 4 when the last session got underway. Wheater certainly didn't let the tea break upset his concentration nor rhythm, and he continued to play one shot after another on the restart. A third 100 for the county he joined last year looked probable as he raced on to 87 made at a runner ball. He also took Hampshire to their second batting bonus point in the process. He had timed the ball so well throughout, and it was such timing that probably brought about his downfall, as he just stuck his bat at this delivery from Foote to see it fly to Moore in the covers. Wheater was out with a total on 256 for 5, and Derbyshire would have been hopeful that one would lead to a few more again. Sean Irvine had other ideas as he belted a David Wainwright full toss for a 6. He then took on anything short from foot it with the second new ball, endangering the man at short leg on a couple of occasions with fierce pull shots, which brought him more boundaries and took his side into the 300s. When you're at the summit of the table, all bonus points are valuable to keep distance between yourselves and the chasing pack, and with Irvine looking in such good nick, more bonus points look likely. He added 62 runs with Bates, who stuck it out for much of the evening session in making his 27 runs. The score read 318 when Hampshire lost their 6th wicket. Irvine 3 short of his 50, dragging a ball from Tim Groenewald back onto his stumps with something of a false shot. Matt Coles then drove the same bowler into the hands of Paul Borrington, leaving it to Bates and Kyle Abbott to see out the final 4 overs of the day. Derbyshire will at least be pleased that none of those that got in went on to make a really big score, but they still have work to do to get back into this game. Hampshire will go again on the second morning on 332 for 7 and will be hopeful of getting somewhere around 400 or even beyond.